Welcome to the Nairametrics Executive Couch, and today we're with the Executive Governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
It's a pleasure to be with you on Nairametrics.
As a first-time visitor to Ekiti State, it's a very beautiful state with a lot of potentials to attract investments. Your administration has made remarkable progress and accomplishments despite revenue constraints. Can you enlighten us on how you prioritize investment projects?
Well, it's basically driven by our own development plan. We have a multi-year, 25-year development plan, just as you must have had the Honorable Commissioner for Finance and Economic Development talk about. And for us, there are three broad areas in that. Of course, there are other things that may come in if the opportunities arise, but we focus mainly on our agrarian tradition, but more towards the agro-allied processing side. We also focus on our well-known passion for education. So the knowledge economy is very important to us. And then you just spoke about how beautiful our topography and our state is. So tourism and the potentials of our heritage also feature very strongly in our investment framework. And we then have an overarching principle of ensuring that we fully give advantage to the private sector in our governance framework so that sustainability is built into what we do right from get-go. I mean, government intervention is important, particularly in areas where we feel very strongly about protecting the weak and the vulnerable members of our society. But we also know that it is often not sustainable just doing it on the basis of these empowerment programs or handouts to the vulnerable and young people. You need to invest in people. If you invest in people, then it's a much more sustainable investment that would drive itself. And that's essentially what informs how we decide what to support or not support.
Basically, your administration is very keen on projects that have heavy social impacts. So how do you tend to ensure that these projects you have undertaken, even after your tenure is over, how do you ensure that these projects can go beyond your administration?
Very simply, for us, one word is key, and it is called partnership. We enter into this project on the basis of a strong partnership of either equity participation and in which we are minority stakeholders so that whatever happens, the company remains private and the majority shareholders are the private stakeholders in the operations. So it's not dependent on who the governor is. And a good example that I gave this morning is how we entered into partnership with Promosidor Nigeria Limited, producers of cowbell. They take 76% of our company that had been moribund for 40 years, and we retained 24%. So whatever happens, the person who has 76% is really the owner. I mean, what we're interested in is whatever we get from it by way of employment to our people, and at the end of the day, by way of dividend to the state.
You mentioned earlier that that Ekiti State has been dealing with some revenue constraints. What efforts have you made to boost the financial performance of the state?
Well, one of the things that's important to us is ensuring that we block whatever leakages we have in the system. We have a new Internal Revenue Service law that promotes the autonomy of the Internal Revenue Service and also gives it the opportunity to be the single collector of taxes, either the local government or the state government, so that we avoid multiple taxation, which is a big bane to investments in many places. Two, we are very clear about the role of the public service in promoting efficiency. So we have what is described as a civil service transformation strategy, in which we improve the capacity of our public service, and which we improve the transparency of our service and the accountability framework in our state. We were the first state to sign the Freedom of Information law in the country to domesticate it, and we release records frequently. If you go to our website or go to our Bureau of Public Procurement website, you will see contract information to the minutest detail. How much did you award this road for? What was the process leading to the award? Who got the contract? Is there a beneficial ownership relationship? All of those details you will find in our portal, on the portal of the Bureau of Public Procurement. So for us, transparency is key. For us, the value addition that each project brings to the table is very, very important. And at the end of the day, we also ensure that we find a way to address the misalignment between our recurrent and our capital expenditure. That has been a huge challenge, but we've managed to cover a lot of grants in that regard as well.
I can see that in your state of the state report as well. And now you also mentioned transparency has been very key. So your administration has also identified 5 initiatives that will transform the state. Can you speak on the latest steps or updates on these initiatives and what projects or steps you are taking at this point in time?
On agric and rural development, I've told you how we prioritize commercial agricultural investors, but we don't leave our smallholder farmers behind in that space. We actually work with them, we capacitate them, we support them, but we and provide financial incentives and also act as, if you like, an enabler for them to access initiatives like Anchor Borrowers Program from the CBN and a number of other initiatives from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and our development partners. So that's one thing that we do. We also link them to the commercial operators in the state, who sometimes are looking for off-takers and are looking for smallholders that they can off-take whatever they're producing on almost an automatic basis and at guaranteed pricing. So that's one thing that we do clearly. Two, we are very strong on ensuring sustainability. So we set up a College of Agriculture and Technology, for example, specifically focusing on producing middle-level technical people who can assist those who are coming into that space, because you need skilled labor, and we are doing quite well in that regard. Just as you had the Vice President speak, like it ranks very highly on the enabling business competitiveness annual program. So that's another key thing that we do. Three, we're strong on ensuring that a major impediment that farmers everywhere suffer from is how to ensure that the products get to the market without constraints. So rural roads is major for us. And we're doing about 1,000 kilometers of rural roads in our state just to ensure that farmers can move their goods easily to the market without losing them to rot in the process of bringing them out to the market. And that's a critical component of our agric and rural development initiative. We are also improving all our dams in the state. We're resuscitating and rehabilitating our dams and keeping them to be ready for irrigation purposes as well, particularly in our agro processing zone. We equally have been doing quite a lot of work in improving partnerships between our state farmers and farmers associations like the RIFA and the Rice Farmers Association, who we entered into partnership with, together with a number of rice mills, in order to take what our own local rice farmers are producing. That's on agriculture and rural development. On our social investment program, I mentioned it to you earlier. For us, we have a duty to protect the weakest and the vulnerable segments of our population. So a range of programs are focused on that in Ekiti. I mentioned earlier this morning that we take very seriously our free education program, not just for the fun of it. It's not just about sounding nice that we're doing free. Our free education is not just free, but compulsory and also qualitative. So it's about building the capacity of our teachers. It's about improving the learning environment by improving the schools, providing instructional materials, providing running grants for the schools. And that has seen our enrollment figures jump meteorically from at least by 40,000 new pupils. And we also ensure that we pay for the public examination of our students, the WAEC examination, for all students who qualify to do that. Ditto healthcare, we improved all our primary health centers, our secondary health facilities, even our tertiary facility. If you get to the Ekiti State University Teaching Hospital, you see the amount of effort that we've put into that place, and also in recruiting new doctors, graduating our first set of doctors from Ekiti State University, and now the second set has just graduated, and ensuring that we also retain them by recruiting them into the services of our public health system. But there is also the social security component of this. Way back from my first time in office, we've pioneered the social security stipend for the elderly, our Uarubo, and we also do Onji Arubo, just to target that segment that I spoke about, that are not catered for by anybody because they don't have kids that are either well-to-do or no kids at all, or they just don't have someone to look after them in their old age. And we feel a sense of duty. As I speak to you, we're constructing a multi-million elderly home for our elderly population who may need a space to just be at, where they're taken care of by government. And we're doing this in partnership with the Ekiti Council of Elders. So we also have, we're partners with the federal government in the school feeding program for our young kids in primary school. We are supporting pregnant women all over the states and ensuring that under fives are also a major responsibility for us. That's on our various social investment programs. The third area is our infrastructure and industrial development. We've resuscitated not just Ikunderi Farm and then entered into partnership with the private sector. We have concessioned our Ikogosi tourism institution. We've also resuscitated the Erie clay factory and is in the process of being concessioned as I speak to you. We are very, very focused on supporting our SMEs, our small and medium enterprises in the state. And we have an agency of government that drives our work with regards to this. We have the Microfinance and Enterprise Development Agency, MEDA, in the state. And we provide all manner of assistance to struggling businesses, to new SMEs, and to particularly SMEs in the agri sector, where we support them with AGSMIS fund, which is also CBN related. We, in addition to this, ensure that the roads, we don't just, we have limited resources, as you mentioned. So we're very deliberate about priority roads that lead to our special agro processing zone, and that cuts across all our senatorial districts. We have managed to reconstruct all those roads. We have the Oye Ekiti Ayede Ikun road, which is almost about 41 kilometers that we've fixed. We have road going to Ikogosi, which has been bad for years. But if you go there now, it's a brand new road that leads to the tourism belt of the state. We fixed the road to the Ire factory that I talked about, Ilupeju, Ire, Igbemo Road, and that cuts across the three senatorial districts of the state. We fixed the road that links us to Kogi State. That's the Omo, Isimbode, Ode Agbadu road. And we are also dualizing the Adoyi road, an alternative road that leads from Ado-Ekiti to still going as a bypass to Igede and right up to Itaure, which I hope the new, whoever my successor is going to be, will take up and continue as a logical extension of the work that has been done now. On the knowledge economy, I mean, you heard what the VP says today. It just encapsulates what we're doing, because for us, we believe that this is an area where we have comparative advantage. If you speak to an average Nigerian who knows nothing, first thing he will tell you, that state where they produce professors and they all go to school and have PhD. Even their governor has a PhD and it's not an honorary one. That's what we're known for. So why don't we leverage it? It shouldn't just be a collection of degrees for its own sake. How do we create wealth out of that? Especially in an age that has become literally virtual, and technology plays a very central role. So we have our EKZ, our Ekiti Knowledge Zone, that have just won a grant of $250,000 to develop a full business case and a feasibility study from the African Development Bank, which in itself is an indication that if we get it right, the same African Development Bank is ready to put in money into this venture, which we believe in the first instance will cost us in the region of about $100 million to create this space and ensure that it is put in the right condition for anchor tenants to take over the place and utilize it as tech hubs, as startups in the biotechnology, healthcare, medical field, agri-technology, even BPO, business outsourcing, all of these. That's how we envisioned the hub of our knowledge economy agenda. And we're very confident that the way we're going on about it, we would at least put it in the right place before this government exits in another year. Finally, I've spoken about finally on infrastructure. We have specific things that we've done. The whole water reticulation, water resuscitation in the state is major. I mean, we were able to do this with the assistance of the World Bank. So we revived all our dams that had gone moribund and equipment had gone into disrepair. We've brought them all back to shape. We've also done a lot of work around erosion management in the state. We, again, with the support of the World Bank, we've done quite a lot in our new map program, helping communities that have been ravaged by erosion, bringing them back to a good, stable state, and also supporting them to cope with the vicissitudes of climate change. We are reforesting in many of our old forest areas. We're replanting several hectares. And the very minimum, I think about 350 hectares have been replanted now of a whole variety of tree crops. So we have done considerable amount of work in this respect. We are also, as you've seen today, put in place certain infrastructure that we see as having multiplier effect. The Civic and Convention Center, where the investment summit held today, is a multi-purpose convention center with amphitheater, with halls, with galleries, with film, cinema houses, and eateries. So many things that would be open for business, and we've concessioned it, so we don't want to run it, because that for us is also still on that philosophy of sustainability that I spoke to you. And partnership. We've done the same thing with the central market. We have a major central market going on. We are redeveloping our central business district and doing not just a bus terminal, a central bus terminal, similar to what you have in Lagos. Incidentally, it's Planet Projects that is working with us on this in Ekiti State as well, that did the Oshodi and Ikeja bus terminal. So we have all these projects either nearing completion or fully completed. And because we're so passionate about using technology to boost revenue and efficiency, we are also completing a geographic information system on our land management so that we can track everything happening in our land management. We're doing the same thing on our security initiative. So we have a safe security initiative that has put CCTV around the state and that is linked to the Emergency Control Center in partnership with the Nigerian Communications Commission in the state, so that whatever is happening in all of those places, we can see at the Emergency Control Center, and it's also possible for me to see it right here on my desk in governor's office. So it's a mix of physical projects, technology projects, but all driven by one primary principle: to make Ekiti the place to live, to work, and to play.
That's really impressive, sir.
I'm going to end with investments, right? Ekiti, compared to other southwestern states, according to data from the NBS, has had some challenges attracting foreign investments. So, what are the steps? Okay, first of all, what is the reason for this, and what are steps that you are taking to buck this trend?
Okay. Well, there are a variety of reasons. Discontinuities always discourage investors. because there's no predictability. And when you cannot predict, investors are very wary of coming into such space because they can't plan. I mean, we've had situations in which investors left the state. When I stopped being governor after my first time in office, Coca-Cola left the state. GTB Bank left the state. EcoBank left the state. And virtually all development partners left the state. So lack of consistency, predictability would always create situations in which investors would not like to put themselves through. That's one. There are also challenges that come with geography. I mean, but we don't want to be prisoners of our geography. We're a landlocked state. And when you're landlocked in a security challenged environment, the likelihood is that there is limited access to your state. And people are very wary of traveling by road. So we decided we were going to build an agro cargo airport with passenger capacity as well. And that's ongoing because we need to open up the state. If people can't access your state, it's very difficult for you to convince them to come and put their money in it. So we first have to provide the enabling environment to ensure that that happens. We need to also protect the sanctity of contracts. I was talking earlier this morning about small claims court, where investors, if they have any issue, can go to the small claims court and address it. But in addition to that, we are also creating, courtesy of our judiciary, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, which can help resolve commercial issues that may arise between investors and government and amongst investors operating in the state themselves. We are doing that. We are also ensuring that where we can, at least for the investors that have come to the state, and I'm sure you were there when Bruno was speaking, the CEO of Promacedo this morning. We would rather underpromise and over-deliver rather than tell you all sorts of highfalutin stories about what we are going to do and we're unable to do, because it's often not within our own space to do so. If we promise to give you power, electricity, and we're not BEDC, it becomes a challenge. But we have put in place an independent power project that can supply additional megawatts of power to the state and then support those businesses, particularly in the agro-processing zone, mini grids that can help them accelerate the opportunities available in that space. Those are the kind of things we're doing to address the perception that Ekiti is not investment friendly. And those who have come have actually discovered that this is the hidden gem, not the places where they have concentrated their energy. But the word needs to get out there, which is partly what we're doing with this investment summit.
Yeah, very impressive. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We have had a fascinating conversation, and we look forward to greater things with Ekiti State in terms of attracting investments.
Thank you very much for having me on Nairametrics. It's my first time on Nairametrics, but I see stories from you that I find very interesting and focused on issues of interest to us in Ekiti. So thank you.
Thank you for having a chat with Nairametrics.